You're ugly. You're useless. You're a liability were almost the only phrases that resonated through her mind. The self-inflicted pain was the result of a personal turmoil following her parents' death. Although never being formally diagnosed, Ravi, a 19-year-old friend of mine, has always been in the strong grasp of depression and anxiety. In spite of having a loving family, an appealing social and a societal image, she often ended up lying unproductive on her pillow, her companion, and a shoulder to her tears. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a secret that we resist to talk about, one that has been prone to stigmatization throughout the globe, and one that can slowly, yet primitively bring down the society as we know it. I'm not talking about a scandal or any sort of political corruption. Perhaps I am talking about the truth that absolutely nobody is comfortable talking about. I am talking about the fact that people with a variety of mental illnesses walk among us, walk with us. I would like to draw attention to the fact that our lifestyles in this jet-setting age have led us to regard mental health and mental illness as identical concepts. But I sincerely hope that we here today could understand that mental health is a state of mind, and ill effects on our mental health would lead us towards a mental illness. So why? Why is this important? Mental illnesses are considered a taboo, an affliction that cannot be treated. It is a grave condition, and yet people choose to not talk about this. If you're diagnosed with pneumonia, you find your family rushing you to the hospital. You take on heavy medication, and you hope that you're cured. On the other hand, if a mental health professional suggests treatment or medication, people tend to resist it. They resist it to such an extent that they ignore all the symptoms, believing that it will go away on its own. And boom, it's depression. Do we dare declare depression? Probably not. And this is exactly how the world is silenced by stigma. So why? Why is there a contrast? To define it, mental health is our psychological, social, and our emotional well-being, whereas a mental illness exists when it chronically affects the way individuals think, feel, behave, or even interact with each other. These unfortunate suffer in solitude. They are silenced by stigma. They are ostracized and are turned away from all the kindness and empathy that they deserve and need to fight their demons all alone. Instead, they are left all alone. This stigmatization is stretched to such an extent that there are only about 200 psychiatrists for the Nigerian population of 200 million people. Every 1 in 4 people can be affected by a mental or a neurological disorder at least some point in their life. Statistically assuming, this means 2 billion people worldwide, 315 million in India, 1.75 million in Hyderabad, and about 50 people in this room. Alarming, isn't it? Just imagine how much we've ignored the cries of our mind for help until it drops the bomb and gives up. When I first learned about this field, I was shocked. I was shocked to find that symptoms can range from emotional eating to anxiety disorders to mood disorders to one of the most studied disorders in the history of science, depression. The loss of our mental health is a gradual process. It involves behavior that over time can get worse. I'm sure most of us remember that tub of ice cream we had after our breakup. I do. Or the burger because they were having a bad day. When people tend to lose control over these little impulses, not effectively managing their feelings yields an inclination that leads them towards worse conditioned behavior. Therefore, I'd say that mental health has multiple degrees to it. Every person must have had experiences shifting in a continuum, from good mental health to mediocre mental health to poor mental health to an illness to a chronic disability. For example, Andy, a friend of mine from China, he had gone along these lines when he had a breakup. Unfortunately, he was a victim to self-injurious acts. Again, self-injury. It is persistent around us. In India itself, intentional self-harm accounts for about 3% of the total deaths, which is as high as 1,336 people dying of suicide every single day. But I believe all things have a brighter side. And the brighter side to this stigma is that when compared to other humanly possible disorders, mental illnesses are far, far easier to cure. For example, depression. Depression is a condition that is associated with one's feelings. So the secret to success here is that only if we could make the depressed feel better, they wouldn't be depressed anymore. Depression particularly is highly important because it is a highly diagnosed disorder. It is a family secret that almost everybody has. Also, sometimes it leads to the formation of delusional perceptions of oneself. And at a point in time, when we've experienced the failure of multiple counselors, suicide prevention lifelines, and therapy, we should inevitably ask ourselves, what have we done? What have we contributed to this wave of mental health enhancement? Or, what can we do to have a small-scale impact on our own personal health? And for this, I propose an idea, a thought, a practice, a change. Hypnosis. I've actually lost the count of the times I've heard that hypnosis is some kind of evil, strange, or a mysterious practice that involves messing with somebody's mind. Well, in the case of depression, the human mind has a constant tendency to associate or mistake its reality in a virtual world. Therapeutic hypnotists hold the power to control these worlds. Just imagine if one is gifted with the luxury of a painless therapy, completely accelerated by your own imagination. I strongly believe that it is a blessing in disguise. I affirm that our thoughts, emotions, and feelings are triggered by what our mind sees and its ability to comprehend things in a particular way. And this power of our imagination would change how we think and how we function. To be honest, hypnosis is not entertainment. We can use it to help ourselves and improve our lives. And even after years of practice and implementation, there are people who are afraid of it, who don't believe in it. A research was conducted wherein people were asked to think of words that they could associate with hypnosis. And we have quite the obvious ones. You've got misdirection, you've got invasion, you've got devil, you've got vulnerability, etc., etc. And yet, what we fail to realize is that we are equipped with a tool that could enable us to live our lives, live our dreams, feel the way we want to feel, get what we want, just by our imagination. There is absolutely no space for any sort of mental unrest or any forms or symptoms of a mental illness. There is hope that we could sustain in a state of pure enlightenment. To understand all that has been going through the minds of my friends Ravi and Andy, it takes a special kind of depth and energy. I stand here today strongly believing that it is not wrong to be a victim of a mental health issue or even see it breeding through the society. What's wrong is our distaste and ignorance towards it. Whether you have anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, or OCD, it's something to hit head on with. It's something to prioritize. If you're having one of those bad days, accept it. Own it. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be fearful. It's okay to not have an idea what your future might hold. And finally, I believe that being honest about our mental illnesses does not make us look weak. It only makes us look human. And with great love and respect to this very humanity, I encourage you all today to explore this budding field of hypnotic therapy, because this technique can enable us to conform to newer discoveries and methods that would only lead to improvements in our mental illnesses and would certainly change the direction and the outcome of our lives. Therefore, it is time to end the stigma that is associated with mental illnesses. For the next time we hear the phrase mental illness, we shouldn't run away from it. I believe we will acknowledge it, we will embrace it to make this world a better place to live in. Thank you very much.